Alright guys, I'm gonna continue on my journey here. I'm actually gonna break down for you guys the MOSs that I worked with the most at the infantry battalion, at 2nd Battalion, 4th Marines. The only infantry battalion that I went to, I went there after my first station at Pendleton. My first 2 years there, I was a headquarters battalion, 1st Marine Division, which is more like a support battalion. We supported all the other division units, to include 2-4 at some point. So 2-4 as a supply officer. I mean, the infantry battalions are pretty standard across. I know they're restructuring the force, and what that looks like now, no idea. But as far as what I encountered and who I worked with the most and what the other MOSs were at the infantry battalion at the time, I'm gonna get right into that and jump right in. So for first, I'm gonna go through all the S sections first, and the infantry guys, I mean, they're infantry. They don't do anything really crazy. I mean, they do all the cool shit for sure. They get to jump out of the helicopters, rope down the helicopters, ride in the vehicles, and they have the cool guns, and you can go shoot all the fun stuff. But I mean, that's pretty much it. Take that to a job interview. All right, so S1, your adjutant. Okay, so as an S1 officer or the adjutant, you're in charge of quite a bit of things: awards, legal, travel vouchers. You deal with everybody's pay, admin whenever something needs to get updated in the system for them. You guys will usually get the paperwork and route it and get it signed, and everything that needs to get signed by the CO goes through your guys' office, unless you're tight like supply. You usually just skip the S1. You're pretty much the CO's executive assistant, not executive officer, assistant. I'm sure if they've made you coffee before, I'm sure there's adjutants, S1 officers that have made coffee for their COs before. Absolutely. At 2-4, our adjutant, he used to get called by the CO. You could hear him call his name down the hall, be like, "Bravo, or adjutant," and you just call him from down the hall. Just, "Yes, sir." You're his assistant. Whatever he needs, you're there. I want to say you're his bitch, but that's too negative. So assistant. So yeah, any adjutants that have had that position and they know what it is. I've had that position, and I'll jump into that. When I was at headquarters battalion, I was the assistant supply officer for the time that I was there. At one point, they needed somebody to fill in the adjutant role. They didn't have a replacement, and it was a weird time. We had 24-hour duties, non-sleeping posts, just a weird time in the Marine Corps, I would say. And we couldn't get backfilled the adjutant. There just wasn't adjutants to send, And it was I think it was a 5-month gap or something like that. I don't even remember. It was several months for sure, more than a couple months. And I remember there's a Lieutenant Colonel Woods, and he went to become the CO of TSB, first TSB on Pendleton. But he would come by often because he was at the division staff, and he knew me as the supply officer, assistant supply officer. And he came in this one day and was like, "Aren't you the suppo?" And I was like, "Yes, sir." And he was like, "Now you're the edge?" And I was like, "Yes, sir." And he was like, "Hold on. There's 3 MOSs you can get as a fucking lieutenant that are the worst. The worst fucking jobs you can get." He was like, "The suppo, the edge, and the commo. And you're 2 of them." And I was like, "Yes, sir." He was like, "Good luck, buddy." And that was it. I was like, Yeah, okay, I just go fuck myself then. But I was working out of by both my offices, and the CEO like told my captain, he was like, he's the fucking edge now. Like that's all he needs to do. He needs to work out of the office right here in the command, like in the command building. And so I moved all my shit down there, and I had my new S1 Marines, and my chief, Massart, was Massart Octavio. He was my chief, and he had been in the Marine Corps like 18 to like 20 years. He could have retired already, and he gets this fresh 24-year-old, 23, 24-year-old lieutenant who's now like his officer. And I remember I was like, look, man, Sergeant, whatever you need, I'll be in that office. And looking handsome. I was like, if you need anything, just let me know. There was nothing I was gonna tell or educate or teach this guy that he didn't already know and that he didn't already experience. So, but Master Octavio, most humble guy, one of the most humble guys I've ever met, ever worked with. Good leader, like he deeply cares. He picked up master guns when I ran into him in Quantico. Sheesh, like 4 or 5 years after that. Awesome dude, and I hope he's doing well wherever he's at, and I know he is, because he deeply cares, and the hardest working guy I've ever met in the Marine Corps. He would beat me to the office coming into the gym. Like I could see his car already parked there, and always the last one out. Like I would have to drag his ass out. I'd be like, look, Massart, I'm gonna sit here until we walk out that door together. And like that was the only way I could get him out. But back to the adjutant role, depending on how good your chief is, and I feel like most of the S1 chiefs are usually pretty good, not like the supply ones, but the S1 chiefs are usually pretty good, and they'll carry you through your time as a junior officer. And but the roles as the adjutant, like you deal with a lot of bullshit, okay? You deal with a lot of the legal, and there's always a lot of like legal shit. I remember when I was at headquarters 10, I had like 4 pages of fucking Marines on a legal status for whatever reason, pending an investigation, pending paperwork, pending ADSEP, pending a med board, all kinds of shit. And like that was like one of the biggest fucking headaches ever. The awards, writing the awards, or not even writing them, but reviewing them, like that wasn't too hard. That was usually pretty easy, and to be honest, like a lot of the onus was given to the officers and their sections, like to correct them, to fix them, and submit them, and all that stuff. So you just review them. The DTS vouchers, it depends where you're at. If you're in a unit where people travel a lot, pain in the ass, absolutely pain in the ass. Vouchers get kicked back, people are delinquent, interest is getting collected. Like it can be a pain in the ass, and it can get high level attention real quick. There's a lot of like other miscellaneous shit that you'll do, like the voting officer, I don't know, just a bunch of other shit. Like you probably also do the duty rosters for people or for the unit, so like you're also it's like the bad guy, you're frowned upon because you're like fucking over people. But really, if you just push that down to like the company commanders, or push it down to the company XOs, depending on your unit, like let them fucking hash that shit out. Be like, look, I just need this many fucking numbers, and you give me the people, and that's it. That way, all the beef stays down there, and it's never with the S1. What else does S1 deal with? All the routing, all the administrative paperwork that flows to your the CO needs to go through your office for whatever reason. I think the S1 just likes to red pen fucking everything, even the smallest of shit. So I know sometimes it's the CO driving that, but like that's bananas. When it takes like over like 2 or 3 days for shit to get reviewed, and you work fucking upstairs, like that's fucking ridiculous. It shouldn't take that long, and especially if the paperwork isn't really going anywhere and it's more administrative. Like, dude, who fucking cares? You're missing a period, who fucking cares? It's not capitalized or whatever. If I get a lot of hate for that, fuck it. But it's not that important. It's not fucking life and death, okay, guys? Okay, S1, not life and death. Alright, S2. I'll probably get a lot of hate for S2, but they don't do shit. Don't do squat. They should fucking stand more duties, and they should do more of the bitch work, to be honest. Like, all the random ass billets that don't require a lot of time and don't require a lot of effort, like, they should be fucking given to them. Like, they can be the EO. They can be the fucking the fun and games officer. They can do all kinds of like random shit that doesn't take that much time and doesn't take that much effort. Yeah, S2. There's usually 2 officers in there. You got the captain. This is again in the infantry battalion, and you got the lieutenant. They really don't do shit. Like, they'll brief, and like the Marines will do most of the work, but the officers don't really do much. The F2 officer, the lieutenant, at my time at 2-4, received an award for like literally doing shit. Like, if you looked at what he did and you looked at what I did as a suppo versus what he did as the S2 officer, apples to apples, like, man, I fucking outcycled this guy like 10-1. Fucking, and I didn't get shit. I didn't get my award from 2-4 a year and a half till about year and a half after that shit. And honestly, I didn't even fucking rock that shit. I didn't even put it on my uniform. Why? Because like, if they didn't give a fuck to give enough to give me an award, like, fucking I don't give a fuck enough to like go buy this shit and go fucking put it on $4.95 to get the fucking ribbon and put it on my fucking uniform. Fuck that. And even at my last unit, like, I outcycled any of the officers there. Apples to apples, put the data there. I have all the data. I had it, submitted my award, didn't get shit. There's other officers that their award wasn't anything near the amount of work that I did, and the productivity, the capital gain, the return, and didn't get shit. Why? It's shitty leaders, okay? And I'll get into that into my other videos down the road. I'm going to start getting into the leaders, what I expected from the leaders in the Marine Corps, a institution that is, claims to be, it has the top leaders in the world, whatever. So, an institution that's built upon leadership. So, yeah, we'll get into that. And all right, S2, don't do shit. I don't even know, like, literally don't do shit. And if I get comments or anything, people saying like, you don't know what S2 does, I know what S2 does. I've seen them. I deployed with them. Worked side by side with them. You can't tell me you don't do shit. Fucking hang around in your locked offices, fucking tooling your fucking thumbs, asking for fucking supplies. Don't even know where they're going. Alright, S3. Alright, S3, interesting beast. You usually have the major, who's the ops officer. You usually have a captain, who's the FOPSO, Future Operations Officer. You'll have like the ops chief, who's like a mass sergeant. And you'll probably have like a gunny or a staff sergeant in there as well. Maybe a couple lieutenants. At one point, we were so stacked in our S3 office and just had a bunch of fucking random officers in there not doing squat. The OPSO usually gets his ass fucking beat up all the time. But if your OPSO is good, he usually keeps the other officers in check, in line. All the company commanders, like they're usually aligned. But the OPSO just needs to be good. I had 2 pretty good OPSOs, no complaints. Hard, but good. Drove the fucking team. Yeah, no complaints in the S3, but in the S3 you're planning all the exercises, the training evolution plan for the year. Like you're planning everything, and you're making sure that the briefs, the exercises, the weekly meetings, like they all run smoothly. Like you're making sure that the training is scheduled for each of the platoons. You're holding those platoons accountable. Sorry, not the platoons. The company commanders accountable to ensure that they're doing their training for their platoons, the company level exercises, the battalion level exercises. So all part of that. That's all dealt in the operations office realm, the S3. Locking down the training events with base and making sure people are qualified to be the watch officers, to be the range OICs, to be just the safety officers like that, making sure everyone has their trainings and qualifications so that you guys are able to run your operations, scheduling the rifle ranges, all that, everything that goes into the training and planning for the unit comes out of that office. So the S4, all right, S4, your logistics section, and logistics and supply, not the same thing. I got it. Supply is a fucking function of logistics. Whoop-de-fucking-do. Guess what? We don't do the same thing, and we're not the same. Supply and S4, O4, MOS, not the same. They can't do what we can do, and I can't do. No, I can do what they can do. Like they're, it's a lot easier to understand like the S4 part than I would say the supply part. But when I went through MOS school, the captain was like, look, supply is like Star Wars. You guys ever watch Star Wars? And R2D2, all fucking 10 movies is like boo bop, bee bop, bee bee bop bop bop. And nobody understands what the fuck they're saying except who? The Jedis. The Jedis understand what the robot is saying, but nobody else can. That's like supply. Nobody understands supply except the fucking suppos and the people that speak supply. It's like a different language, but it's not that hard. It really isn't that hard. People just fucking make it hard. But that's exactly how supply is. You can learn it, and it's not hard to teach if they're not dumb. But okay, so S4, you have a captain in the S4, and they oversee the 3 other departments in the S4. So you got your like embarkers who work out of the S4 office. They probably also do a lot of like admin shit. You'll have some admin marines. You'll have the S4 Alpha who helps with all that admin side, the embark side, and then you got your mortar T officer who runs the mortar T platoon. You're in charge of like supporting the unit with the vehicles, making sure the vehicles are maintained, the parts are ordered. You got your maintenance chief and you got your ops chief pretty much in the mortar T platoon. And then you got your MMO. Your MMO, your maintenance management officer, usually works out of the supply office. You and the supply officer gotta be like this. If you guys aren't, you're probably not gonna be successful as the MMO. And the suppo is your lifeline. The suppo is your best friend, your lifeline, like he's your fucking second partner, okay? Aside from your partner at home, that's your second partner, the suppo. And really why that is because you're supposed to manage the entire maintenance of the unit. So like the equipment that's not operational, that's not 80% or above operational, is deadline, in-op, whatever it is, the parts on order, you're supposed to make sure that the unit is meeting the requirement and they're able to support the field exercises, support the unit with whatever it needs. You're able to track the parts, able to track all the service requests on all the equipment, from vehicles to communications equipment to the weapons, everything. You're in charge of that. So you're going to get beat up about that if you're not tied in with your supply officer to make sure that the parts are in order, 2, the parts are actually inputted, the requests are inputted by those maintenance sections, supply is approving those parts, we have the budget for those parts, and then tracking that shit from end to end supply, right? Like, hey, this fucking order has been sitting here for fucking 180 days. What the fuck, supply? Supply's gonna be like, oh yeah, look, it's already approved, or sorry, we missed that one. We approved it. It will be here on Tuesday. It will be here on Wednesday. I don't have an estimated arrival time or estimated ship date from the vendor. Like, that's all information you pull from supply, and supply can give you that. And if you're not in good standing with them, it's gonna be like pulling teeth. But supply is your best friend, absolutely. All right, that was your logistics section. 3 lieutenants and a captain. It's usually what it is. You guys are usually pretty beefed up with personnel. Next, you got your S6 section. We don't have an S5 in the infantry. your S6 section, your communications section, you usually pretty beefed up as well. You'll have your lieutenant, the camo. Again, one of the worst MOSs you can get as a lieutenant. You probably usually see a lot of people get relieved in that position as well. But you got your camo, the lieutenant, and then you're usually pretty beefed up. If you don't got a mass sergeant, that's your chief, your right hand man. Like, you usually got a gunny who's a heavy hitter, or yeah, I think it's just one of those two. So definitely a section that has tons of Marines, over 40 Marines for sure. With restructuring force, not sure whatever they're gonna get down to, but pretty stacked section. You're in charge of supporting the unit with communications equipment for the field exercises. You're in charge of all that equipment that goes out there, the Marines you send out there. So as the communications officer, you're actually in charge of the majority of the equipment that's issued to you by the unit, by the SUPO, by the CO. It's usually about like more than half the account, probably like 50 to 80 million worth of communications equipment, to include the SL3. If you guys don't know what SL3 is, it's stock list 3. It's the list of components that are part of like the major end item. So like cables and connectors and all that Gucci stuff. So all the stuff that the fucking infantry guys love to break, that stuff. Or lose. They love to lose or break, because they just don't know how to work the stuff and they break it. So or lose it. And you're in charge of all that. You're in charge of the Marines. It's usually not a bad department. You probably spend a big chunk of your time dealing with your admin side, dealing with the administrative piece with your Marines, making sure that they're all trained, that they all have their 100% ready for medical and all that stuff. Like, that's probably one of your biggest headaches. All right. As the camo, the SUPO is probably also your best friend at the unit. Why? Because you have the most equipment, you have the most shit that needs to get ordered, you have the most expensive shit that needs to get ordered, and the person that can make that shit happen and get that shit ordered for you, get the money that we need for that equipment, is your SUPO. Hands down. Have his number on fucking speed dial, baby. He again is also like you guys got to be like this, your second partner. When I was at 2-4, we had a LRE inspection, which is like not as intense as a field supply analysis and maintenance inspection, in like the office that inspects us for phasmo, whatever. I don't remember what that acronym is, but LRE, logistics readiness evaluation. The division will come down and inspect to see how your account is doing. Had a captain that was the inspector come down with Gunny Madsen. Gunny Madsen's my boy. Trained me since I was a junior, freshest fucking lieutenant ever. And he was my inspector. But the captain was like, there was like something that we fucked up, me and the camo, and like we were tracking though, like we were aware of it. And she was like, you need to fucking, talk to your camo and communicate with your camo. And I was like, bitch, I talk to the camo more than I talk to my mom. Like, I don't want to fucking hear it. And I remember making this joke to Mason. Mason was like, yeah, dude, I talk to you more than I talk to like my wife. And I was like, yeah, like we're in sync, like we're aligned, like we have no issues. So like, I don't know, just they are. You guys need to be like this. As a SUPO, you need to be tied in with your mortar T officer, your camo, your armory chief, and then I didn't even get into the armory, but the MMO. Just real quick, backtrack. The S4, you're also in charge of the armory, but you usually have a chief in there, and they're usually pretty solid. They know what they're talking about. We had a chief, Staff Sergeant Kanoto. He was pretty badass. Knew what he was talking about. Knew his shit. Knew his weapon systems. Supported my ass through deployment. Me and him were I was technically in charge of like the remain behind element. He was my chief. Held it down. I appreciate you, brother, for that. without you, like, wouldn't make this shit happen. Hope you're doing well out there wherever you are. All right, back to commo. I think that's pretty much sums it up for communications. As far as the support sections, the S sections, that's pretty much it. You have your XO, your Sergeant Major, and your CO, obviously, that are rolled up under the S1. As the supple, what I will say though is, like, you need line of sight or direct communication with your XO. You need direct communication with your CO. So if you don't have that, you need to figure it out. So, but all right, guys. Next video, I'll jump into the infantry, the breakdown of the companies and how they're broken into. See you guys till next video.